Hey, um, there's a Twitter post that's circulating the internet at the moment. I wouldn't say it's viral because, unfortunately, when it comes to double standards on the sort of issues that I'm going to be raising, these things don't get anywhere near the sort of proportionate attention they would get if we were talking about a man or a white person making them. And quite honestly, the double standards I find utterly insufferable. So the person concerned, I haven't heard of her before, but her name is Emily McCombs, and she is an editor at Huff Post and a journalist. Now, looking at her page, she is a dedicated feminist. She has pretty much every post is about the Harvey Weinstein case and rape culture and men's mistreatment of women. So she's a very outspoken feminist, right? That's her position. That's her politics. Now she has made a tweet, and I first saw this on a father's rights group actually, and the tweet was New Year's resolutions: one, cultivate female friendships; two, band together to kill all men. Now I thought, okay, well, could this be photoshopped? Um, because obviously with the fathers' rights groups, they campaign for equal treatment for fathers, which I believe is has a lot of credence, has a lot of grounding to it. I think that there is a case to be made that fathers are treated unfairly. But anyway, I thought, okay, well, maybe this might be photoshopped. Maybe she didn't say it exactly like that. So I gave her the benefit of the doubt. So I typed the name in Twitter, and right enough, there it is, comes up. She certainly hasn't denied it, and on her own page, there are plenty of rants about men in general. So, firstly, the issue here is not that she is a toxic misandrist, but it shows that misandry, i.e., the hatred of men and boys, is alive and well in modern Western feminism. And I'm sick to high heaven of the double standards on this. If it was the case that you had hate mongers like Emily McCombs, and that's what she is, saying stuff like this and they were held to account for it, okay. Unfortunately, there is bigotry in this world. There are people with very small minds who will use a bad experience, as I understand it, she being a rape victim, use a bad experience to then hate everyone. Well, the way I see it is a woman who uses her rape experience to hate all men is no better than a man who, grows up hating all women because his mother abused him. You cannot use a negative experience with one or two people to justify hating an entire demographic. You just can't. Um, and I mean, that's I'm assuming that based on the, like I say, I don't know this person well. I'm just basing that on the sort of posts that she's making. But what I find so disgusting about these modern Western feminists is they're very hateful people, but they hide behind the ideology and they really do take the view I am a female feminist, so you can't criticize me. The arrogance, the pompousness of these people is astounding. But what is in a way worse is those who placate it, other men who justify this. And they say because there are bad guys out there, that justifies certain women demonizing all men. It's the same principle with the Black Lives Matter movement and some of this toxic identity politics we've been seeing. There will be people who defend Monroe Bergdorf, the controversial racist transgender model, um, by saying, oh, well, she may have suffered racism, therefore it's okay to hate all white people or to stir up animosity towards all white people. You know, I am a staunch believer that if, as a society, we're to oppose issues like sexism and racism, we have to be consistent. It's no good saying that a woman can get a free pass to be sexist against all men, but a man doing the same thing. Just imagine the situation, right? Had a male editor of a well known publication. She isn't the main editor, I should say. She's an editor, I believe, of the women's section, the family section, or whatever. But HuffPost has a long track record of regressive writers like this. Anyway, imagine had a man on a national publication said New Year's resolutions cultivate male friendships, band together to kill all women. Not only would he be out of a job immediately, he would potentially be facing jail for instigation of violence or whatever that will come under, and arguably rightly so. There are parts of the world where femicide is a big problem, parts of northern Mexico, parts of Africa where women were used as weapons of war in the DRC, for example. But these hate-filled toxic feminists like Emily McCombs. Firstly, I will say this to any feminists who say, oh, you can't blame all feminists for this. Okay, well then speak up, condemn her, unequivocally, without caveat. If you are a woman who calls yourself a feminist and you don't agree with what she's saying, and you say, oh, wait, I don't hate men, I don't agree with her sentiments, speak out. Speak out and condemn it. I think part of the problem with modern feminism is that the moderates are too quiet in condemning the misandry in their midst. You know, if there's a responsibility for men, and I believe there is, to call out rapists and call out men who abuse women. I mean, put it this way: the actor Matt Damon was absolutely crucified metaphorically online for no other reason than saying it isn't every man in Hollywood. He wasn't condoning anything. He wasn't downplaying anything. He wasn't saying that there isn't a problem. He was just saying that it was getting to the point where all men were being vilified. And on some level, looking at the attitude of Emily McCombs, that adds up. Matt Damon wasn't saying that there isn't a problem. I looked at his what he said, and that's the situation we're getting into, and it's why I have no time for modern Western feminism. I believe fundamentally it is a hate movement, and I think that there are decent feminists out there who are genuine egalitarians who don't hate men, but it is absolutely undeniable that there is misandry, deep misandry within this movement, and it is about time that the word misandry became as common in our lexicon as misogyny, because it is just as widespread. It gets a free pass. You will never see The Guardian or the BBC or CNN or the indie newspaper, the newspaper, report these things because the left turn a blind eye. They are not consistent. And I find that insufferable, to be quite honest. Um, but even the right doesn't particularly, I mean, right wing newspapers, I buy newspapers often, they don't necessarily cover feminist double standards that much. So it really doesn't get the attention it deserves. In my opinion, she is a public figure, she's a journalist, she's an editor. If a man would be reprimanded for something like that, why the hell should she get away with it? So shame on you, Emily McCombs. Shame on you for spreading hatred against half the human race. No doubt she'll turn around and say it was a joke. Imagine if a man done that and said it was a joke. I mean, if we're to be consistent on these things, there has to be a consistency. That's the point. And I despise the double standards. I despise the fact that we are constantly talking about male sexism, which I condemn, but female sexism gets a free pass. Why is that? Why is it that white racists get condemned as they should be, but black racists like Monroe Bergdorf don't? In the Eye yesterday, I read something about, I think they were counting moments of the year, I can't remember exactly, but it simply said the controversial model Monroe Bergdorf. Controversial. Why not call her what she is, a racist? You know, if it had been a white supremacist, they would have no problem saying that. So the hypocrisy of the left, in particular, I find rather insufferable. So Emily McCombs, as far as I'm concerned, is a female chauvinist pig, and whatever her background is, you know, if she's had a bad experience with men, it's not justification to joke. I don't even know if it was a joke. If it, you know, she hasn't even defended herself yet. But this isn't something that was photoshopped. I'm looking right now at her direct Twitter account. I mean, Twitter should be removing that at least, or doing whatever they do. I don't use Twitter myself. I think it's personally, I think it's a powder keg. But why do female sexists get a free pass? I think it's it's the responsibility of big publications to be consistent on these things, and they're just not. So they're failing in their journalistic responsibility. The Huff Post should be firing her for that. But they won't, because female sexism is fine. If someone calls himself a feminist and stirs up hatred against men, oh, that's fine. She's a free thinking, strong woman. It's disgusting. So all I can say is this person, Emily McCombs, must be a very bitter individual. She must be a very, I mean, some people are saying she has a young son. I don't know if that's true. If it is true, what sort of world is he growing up in where his mother is publicly stirring up hatred against his sex? I mean, there's other parts of the world where you do get that sort of institutional misogyny against women and girls. Why the hell do Anyway, I'll just be repeating myself now. But the double standards are the thing I find most infuriating. It's bad enough that she's coming out with these hateful comments, but if she was coming out with them and she was reprimanded, she was fired from the Huff Post or whatever, that would be one thing. But the fact she gets away scot free with it, and that's why these obnoxious modern feminists, I'm not talking about everyone, but there is unquestionably this problem within the feminist movement. That's why I don't endorse it, because I don't believe it's about equality anymore. It's simply about constantly stirring up animosity towards half the human race, and it causes, in my opinion, a lot more division than building bridges. So yes, there are women sexists, and yes, there are black racists. Let's just be consistent. If you say it's bad for a man to be sexist or it's bad for a white person to be racist, but I'm going to turn a blind eye to a woman being sexist or a white black person being racist, then you're a hypocrite. Period.